Hi everyone, my name is Megan, and today I'm going to recommend some books. One of my very favorite things to do as a book lover and as a librarian is recommending people's next favorite reads. I also like to try to talk up some really great books that might not have as much hype as others, so I thought I would do a good old-fashioned, if you like this, you might like this video. If you are unfamiliar with this concept, I'm going to talk about a few books that are pretty popular or pretty well liked, and I'm going to recommend a book for fans of that book. I'm trying to recommend less popular titles, or at least ones that aren't talked about as often, but ones that still share similarities with the more popular book. I have a grand total of 5 book recommendations that I'm going to give to you guys today, so let's just get on with it. The very first book that I want to recommend today, I'm going to recommend to fans of Looking for Alaska by John Green. If you liked Looking for Alaska by John Green, then I think you will probably also like The Truth About Keeping Secrets by Savannah Brown. The Truth About Keeping Secrets is technically a YA mystery thriller. While that is definitely a big portion of this book, I think that it is so much more than that. This book follows Sydney, who is in high school and whose father very recently and unexpectedly passed away in a car accident. After her father's funeral, Sydney becomes really close friends with June Copeland, who is probably the most popular girl in her school, and it's kind of weird that they are friends, but June actually has a connection to Sydney's dad, which is explored in this book. This book largely follows Sydney coming to terms with her father's death, and also trying to see if her father's death was really an accident. It also explores the relationship between Sydney and June, and the ups and downs of friendship. I think these books have a lot of different similarities, and you could probably tell some of them just from what the synopsis sounds like. Both of these books have lovable and smart protagonists. This one female, this one male. And they also have the super mysterious character who you just want to know everything about, and you're curious about why they may be associating with other characters, if that makes sense. I think that Sydney and Miles and June and Alaska are actually pretty similar in a lot of different ways. This one's going to talk a little bit about brief spoilers for Alaska, so if you haven't read it, just mute it for a second, but both of these also deal with a mysterious death by car, which is kind of interesting, a little specific, and I'm not sure if anybody's out there looking for books about car deaths, but these both have them in it for sure. These books both deal a little bit with unrequited love, though it's for different reasons in each book. But ultimately, I think these are 2 very strong YA examples of teenagers dealing with grief. I really love both of these books, and I don't hear a ton about The Truth About Keeping Secrets at all. I really hope some more people pick it up. I will say this one goes in some pretty dark places when it comes to death and dying, so if you feel particularly sensitive to those topics, I might proceed with caution on this one. If you liked Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, I think you will also like We Wish You the Best by Carolyn Zankin. I talked about this one for quite a while in my January wrap-up, which I will link in the description below. So if you want to hear me talk a little bit about my personal thoughts about it, you can check out that video. This book follows a group of first-year MFA grad students as they complete their first 2 in-person residencies. It focuses very heavily on 2 main characters, Hannah and Leslie, who quickly become friends and who are also seen as very mysterious and kind of aloof. Everybody wants to know about them, but not a lot of people are let in. One of the very interesting things about this book is that it's told collectively by the student body, excluding the 2 main characters. It's basically us getting the impression that the classmates get of these 2 characters. I think that fans of Conversations with Friends and also Sally Rooney's other novel, Normal People, will really like this one. I think that they both have very similar, beautiful and poetic writing styles. I feel like these are both short stories that really pack a lot of punch. Both of these books follow a set of kind of quirky and mysterious female friends. Both of these stories also dealt with higher education in some ways. In Conversations with Friends, Frances is a college student, and obviously, and We Wish You Luck, takes place on a college campus in a grad program. So if higher education and college campuses are your preferred setting, I would definitely recommend this one. I honestly really like stories set on college campuses for some reason. I just feel like there are so many stories that are told in high schools and not nearly as many in colleges. So it's kind of fun to see other people's college experiences. I think these both have a lot of really fascinating discussions on building relationships and the perception that you have of others. And honestly, I just felt a lot of conversations with friends vibes when I read We Wish You Luck. All right, next up, if you liked Miracle Creek by Angie Kim, you might also like A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Edvarson. A Nearly Normal Family is about 18-year-old Stella who is accused of murder. This book follows the court proceedings and really discusses how this has impacted Stella's family. There are a couple of different reasons why I think that fans of Miracle Creek should pick up A Nearly Normal Family. They are both multiple perspective court dramas, and while that might not necessarily be something that's hard to find, I think that both of these execute the multiple perspectives really well, and it makes the story so much stronger because we are seeing it from so many perspectives. I think that ultimately the biggest similarity that these two books share is that they deal heavily with family grief and how tragic events affect the family members. Like I said, courtroom dramas are not necessarily in limited supply, but I think both of these are really, really solid courtroom dramas. They both have a lot of twists, but they're also both really engaging throughout. And both of these ones had me really thinking and trying to figure out what actually happened. I really enjoyed both of these books, and I haven't heard a ton of people talk about A Nearly Normal Family, so if you haven't picked it up yet, I highly recommend it, especially if you liked Miracle Creek. Next up, if you liked The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, or honestly any Karen Slaughter, then you might like Girls on Fire by Robin Wasserman. Girls on Fire follows Hannah, who also goes by Dex, who is your pretty average high school student who doesn't have a ton of friends. In this story, there is a mysterious death of a popular basketball player in Dex's school. After this death, Dex becomes really close friends with Lacey, who is your stereotypical bad influence satanic worshiper, you know the type. The majority of this book is spent exploring the ups and downs of their friendship and all of the crazy things that Lacey gets Dex into. I found a lot of similarities between this book and a lot of Karen Slaughter's work. I would say most particularly The Good Daughter. One of the kind of smaller things that both of these books deal with is the impact of a tragedy on a community. I feel like that's a pretty important narrative that isn't always addressed in books with big tragedies like this. I found both of these books to be very dark and disturbing in many different ways. If you've read a Karen Slaughter book, you probably know how dark those books can get. I thought that this book got pretty darn close to that dark. It's dark not just in the death of the student, but in the things that Lacey and Dex get into. I mentioned satanic worship earlier in the video, and that is touched on in this. So if you're interested in satanic worship, might I suggest a book for you. Another thing that both of these thrillers have in common is that they both follow an up and down relationship between two females. The Good Daughter focuses on the relationship of sisters Charlotte and Samantha, and Girls on Fire is friends Lacey and Dex. But I think both explore female relationships really interestingly. So if you're interested in a dark relationship-based thriller with a female protagonist, I would recommend Girls on Fire, or The Good Daughter if you haven't read that one either. My last recommendation is for fans of The Raven Boys. If you liked The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, you might also like All the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle. In All the Bad Apples, Dina's older sister Mandy has gone missing, which is something that has happened in the past before, but all of her family has really given up hope and just assumes that Mandy is dead. But Dina will not give up hope. Dina soon starts receiving mysterious letters from Mandy that lead her on an adventure that reveals why the women in this family have such bad luck, and that it might not just be luck, there might be something else behind it. I really think that fans of the Raven Cycle should pick this one up. because the writing style of both of these are so beautiful, lyrical, and magical. They both have quite a few magical elements in them, but they both also have a lot of contemporary elements in them as well. So I think both The Raven Cycle and All the Bad Apples are really great recommendations for those who might be interested in fantasy or reading about books with magic but might be a little hesitant to picking them up. I feel like both of these books deal with magic in such a beautiful way, and it really shows the impact that magic has on people. I felt a very similar powerful feeling when I read both of these books, and I just really think that people who enjoyed the writing style of this one as well as the magic components would love Bad Apples as well. Also, both of these books have LGBTQ representation, which is always a plus. Those are my 5 book recommendations in my very first ever If You Liked This, You Might Like This video. Let me know your thoughts on these recommendations in the comments below, and if you'd like to see more of these videos. I really love recommending books, so if there are any books that you are interested in finding a read-alike for, leave them in the comments below and I will see what I can find. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, please subscribe down below so you can keep up with my videos. All of the books that I discussed today are linked in the description below, and you can also find a link down there for my personal Goodreads page if you are interested in following that. I try to post a lot over on my Bookstagram as well, so I would really appreciate a follow. It is at Megan Likes Books. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter as well, it is at Meg Likes Books. Alright everyone, I will see you very soon for another video. Bye-bye.